Two shocking murders have rocked Tamil Nadu in just 2 months. Ironically, both victims had foreseen their own deaths. These chilling stories expose a failure of the police in taking seriously life threatening warnings, a glaring systemic breakdown, and corruption that erodes public trust. What happens when those entrusted with safeguarding us fail to act? Vanakkam, this is T. Suresh Kumar. Thank you for joining me in this episode of the Hindu Focus Tamil Nadu. Today we shall examine a few disturbing incidents that have taken place in Tamil Nadu in recent times. On March 18th, Zakir Hussain Bijli, a former police sub-inspector, was publicly hacked to death by a gang just as he was returning after offering namaz at a local mosque in Tirunelveli. Zakir Hussain, who is also the Mutawali or trustee of the local dargah, was locked in a legal dispute to retrieve a land that reportedly belonged to the Waqf board. Just a couple of weeks before his death, Zakir Hussain had publicly posted a video on social media expressing the fear that he could be eliminated because he was taking on those who had encroached on the land. In the video, Zakir Hussain had alleged that the local authorities, including the police, particularly the Assistant Commissioner of Police and local inspector, was siding with the accused who were threatening him instead of taking action against them. What makes this even more unsettling is that Zakir Hussain was not an ordinary civilian. In fact, while in service, he was involved in the security detail of former Chief Minister Karunanidhi. Yet, despite his connections, he could not make the police act in his defense. To make matters worse, the police had registered a case against Zakir Hussain under the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act on a complaint from Taufik. Now, Taufik is the man with whom Zakir was involved in a land dispute, and Taufik was a Hindu who had converted to Islam about 9 years ago. Now, as per law, a person who had converted to Islam cannot be classified as a scheduled caste. Yet the police chose to act on his complaint and register a case against Zakir Hussain, clearly pointing to a bias and breakdown of impartiality. Soon after Zakir Hussain was murdered, the police were on the defensive. They claimed that Zakir Hussain had illegally occupied the land belonging to Taufik's wife and was making unfounded allegations against the police. However, this incident, after it triggered outrage and when the issue reached the State Assembly, Chief Minister M.K. Stalin promised justice. And after that, the police not only suspended the local inspector and promised action against the former Assistant Commissioner of Police of Tirunelveli town, they also arrested Taufik after shooting him in the leg while he was allegedly trying to escape from an hideout. The action after the crime aside, the crucial question that remains is why did the police fail to protect Zakir Hussain before his death? Now, Zakir's tragic end closely mirrors with the life of Jagabar Ali, an activist who died in Pudukkottai 2 months ago. Ali, who is an environmental activist and an AIDMK functionary, had actually posted a video exposing large-scale illegal mining in Thirumayam, and he had also feared for his life. Ali in the video had actually accused authorities of being complicit with the illegal miners. In mid-January, Ali died in a road accident. However, following complaints from his wife and mounting evidence, the police investigated the case and altered it to that of a murder, and it later emerged that he was run over fatally by a hireling engaged by a quarry owner, Rasu. In his case too, only after his death, the police crackdown began, and also the Department of Geology and Mining had inspected the quarry concerned to unearth illegalities. There again, only after his death, the case was transferred to the CBCID and the police inspector concerned was suspended from service. A similar pattern had played out in Palladam in Tirupur district in January 2024. A journalist, Nesa Prabhu, had found that he was being stalked and somebody was surveying his movements. Fearing for his life, he made repeated calls to the local police station seeking protection. However, the police insisted that he should visit the police station and lodge a complaint in person. Just as Nesa Prabhu was reaching the police station, he was surrounded by a gang 1 kilometer away from the station and hacked by a gang, leaving him critically injured. Though later allegations surfaced about Nesaprabhu's alleged involvement in certain shady dealings, the issue remains that the police failed to act despite distress calls from him. In this case too, the police action followed only after he was critically injured. These cases illustrate a systemic issue in law enforcement, one that erodes public faith in the very institutions designed to safeguard us. Why is it so difficult to get an FIR registered? And why is it that those in power are allowed to operate with impunity? The breakdown of trust between the public and the law enforcement agencies is evident. People are losing faith in the police, and that is a deeply disturbing reality. Now, what needs to change? First, we need accountability and transparency in the police force. Clear systems must be established to ensure complaints are taken seriously and individuals, particularly whistleblowers and those speaking out against corruption, are protected. Today, filing even the most basic of complaints, like a stolen mobile phone or a snatched gold chain, is a Herculean task that is often caught in a web of jurisdictional disputes or apathy from the police force. We need to ensure that these are streamlined and people are encouraged to report crimes instead of being turned away from police stations citing frivolous reasons. Ideally, people like Zakir Hussain and Jabbar Ali, who are brave enough to stand up against corruption, should not have the need to fear for their lives. But this is a near impossible task when powerful vested interests are able to easily influence police decisions. Until that power dynamic changes, we can only hope that more voices are not silenced by apathy and corruption within the system. On that note, this is T. Suresh Kumar signing off. I shall meet you in another video. Thank you.